Hello again everyone. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a look back to the recent past as I will be analysing where have the careers gone of drivers who competed in the last ever GP2 series in 2016 before the feeder series changed its name to Formula 2. How many made it to Formula 1 and how many have found success in other racing series? That's what we'll find out today. I will go through these drivers in the reverse order they finished in the 2016 GP2 season standings. So this isn't a ranking video, it's just an investigation into where everyone's career has gone. Anyways, with that all being said, let's get into the video. The first driver on this list is Louis Delatraz. Son of F1 legend Jean Denis, Louis Delatraz finished last in the 2016 GP2 standings, having replaced Marvin Kirkland in the final race of the season in Abu Dhabi. He failed to score any points, having retired in the feature race and finished 17th in the sprint race. After 2016, he would race in the rebranded Formula 2 series until 2020, driving for Racing Engineering, Rapax, Charouz and Carlin, finishing 8th in both the 2019 and 2020 editions of the series. He was also a test and development driver for the Haas F1 team from 2018 to 2020, but midway through 2020, once Louis realised he wasn't going to make it to Formula 1, he went into the world of GT and endurance racing just like his dad did once his F1 career ended. He finished 4th in the LMP1 class at the Le Mans 24-hour race in 2020, as well as doing 3 rounds in the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup. In 2021, it was more endurance racing as he drove in the European Le Mans Series or ELMS. He won the series driving alongside Robert Kubica and Ye Yifei. He also competed in the actual 24 Hours of Le Mans, failing to complete the final lap having had throttle sensor issues. He also did 1 round in WEC that year, but in 2022 he would win the European Le Mans series again, driving alongside Ferdinand Habsburg. He also finished 2nd in the LMP2 class of the Le Mans 24-hour race, finished 5th in WEC and also finished 7th in IMSA. With 1 round still to go in Bahrain in the 2023 WEC season, Delatraz and his teammates Rui Andrade and Robert Kubica are leading the driver standings. He's also 2nd in the ELMS Pro Am Cup at the moment, as well as being involved in less successful campaigns in the GTP and LMP2 classes of the IMSA series. So it seems Delatraz couldn't really crack it in single-seaters, but if you put him in an endurance race, he's fast. 2-time ELMS champion and potentially a WEC champion by the end of the year. It's good to see he found success outside of Formula 1. Emil who? Emil Bennstaff only competed in the last round of the 2016 GP2 series, picking up 17th in the feature race and 15th in the sprint race. However, his career in racing progressed no further than that, as he has presumably retired from racing, considering the fact that he hasn't raced in any series since that appearance in GP2. Having raced in various forms of F3 and GP3 from 2012 to 2015, picking up 3rd in the 2013 German F3 series and the Masters of F3 from the same year. It seems from his results, he had reasonable potential, having finished in the top 5 of the standings in the GP3 twice, but maybe he just didn't get enough money or sponsorship to advance his racing career. The first driver on this list to race every GP2 race in 2016, Filo Paz Armand, had a best result of 15th and 14th in the Austrian feature and sprint races. However, after his GP2 campaign, he would retire from racing, having never finished higher than 18th in any series he raced in across his career. I can see why he retired from racing with those results. Rene Binder made substitute appearances at 2 rounds of the 2016 GP2 series, getting a best result of 13th in the Hockenheim feature race. Son of Hans Binder, who raced in F1 from 1976 to 1978, Rene did have a career post-2016, unlike 2 other drivers before on this list. He raced in the successor of Formula Renault 3.5 and raced in the rebranded Formula 2 series in 2017, before doing 6 rounds of the IndyCar series for Juncos in 2018. He drove in ELMS, in Le Mans, and in IMSA for 2019, then in 2020 again did both ELMS and Le Mans without much success. In 2021, however, Binder doubled up, doing both ELMS and the Asian Le Mans series, the latter of which he won. After a disappointing 2022, he is currently leading the ELMS driver standings with half of the season still to run. Binder has seen success outside of single-seaters, just like Louis Delatraz, and let's hope he can achieve even more. Nabil Jeffrey is the first driver on this list to score points in that last season of GP2. He claimed 7th place in the Baku sprint race, but didn't score more than those 2 points he got in that race. He would compete full-time in F2 in 2017, then moved into endurance racing, doing 1 race in the Asian Le Mans series before claiming 4th in the LMP2 class in the 2018 24 Hours of Le Mans. Then he competed in WEC, driving for a team co-founded by Jackie Chan, finishing 4th in the standings during the 2018-2019 season, doing a double campaign also racing in Asian Le Mans, finishing 10th, having only driven in one race. That was Jeffrey's last appearance in a major series. However, Jeffrey does have one piece of trivia about him. He did a test for Lotus F1 in September 2010, aged only 16 years and 10 months old, becoming the youngest test driver in F1 history, a record that wasn't even broken by Max Verstappen when he came into Formula 1. Daniel DeYoung scored 6 points in the GP2 series in 2016, doing so by finishing 9th in the Monaco feature race and 8th in the Baku feature race. He didn't compete in any major racing series after that, having spent 4 years in the second tier of European-based open-wheel motorsport, but his best finish in the standings was in his last year, getting 21st in points. He clearly wasn't cut out for any great racing success with that kind of best result. Jimmy Erickson, not of relation to Marcus Erickson, scored 10 points in the Austrian feature race of the 2016 GP2 Championship. After financial woes forced him to sit out the final 2 races of the season, he took up GT racing in 2017, finishing 3rd in the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup. Then from 2018 to 2020, competed in ADAC GT Masters, getting a best championship finish of 11th in the standings in 2019. He hasn't competed in any series since, and to be honest, it's a shame. He had decent potential, having finished in the top 5 in both of the 2014 and 2015 GP3 series, but he didn't have the financial backing to continue his single-seater racing journey. Some of you may remember Sergio Kanamasas for skipping over the gravel at Monza while racing in GP2 and for being a general nutcase, but he could show a turn of speed when he wasn't crashing. He scored 17 points in the last GP2 season and stayed on for 2017 as the series rebranded to F2, but he dropped off the grid after retiring in both races in Hungary and he hasn't competed in any major series since. He was crash prone and clearly not good enough for F1, so maybe it was a good thing. Son of 80s F1 racer Johnny Cecotto Sr., Johnny Cecotto Jr. raced in GP2 for 8 seasons. Yes, you heard me correctly, 8 seasons. He, like Kanamasas previously mentioned, was known for being a bit crash prone, famously causing a pileup and track blockage in Monaco one year after he locked up his brakes. He actually took 4 wins during his time in GP2, but when you spend more time in the junior series than Max Verstappen currently has spent in Formula 1, you're going to expect some success. He also finished 5th in the 2014 edition of GP2, beating future F1 stars such as Rio Haryanto, Alexander Rossi, and Nicholas Latifi. Okay, maybe I use the term stars loosely, but 5th is still decent. After his GP2 stint, he participated in the first 4 rounds of the 2017 F2 season, actually picking up 2nd place in the Monaco feature race, but spending 9 seasons in GP2 and F2 collectively must have felt like a bit of a piss take if you were a talent in a lower series looking up to someone who's basically a grandpa at that point. Marvin Kirkland, to be fair to him, had a good junior career. He won the 2012 ADAC Formel Masters Series and the German F3 Championship in 2013. He then moved to GP3, taking 3rd in the 2014 standings driving for ART, then repeated the same result in 2015. He drowned in his first GP2 season in 2016, unfortunately finishing 17th in the final standings, and he then switched to GT racing, where he remains today. He finished 3rd in the ADAC GT Masters in 2018 and is currently running a triple campaign in the British GT Championship in the GT3 class, the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup, and in IMSA. A quick side note, how can a racing series have the monikers of being both a world and a European series at the same time? I don't know, but Marvin Kirkland drives in it, so that's all I'm interested in. He was clearly a talented driver who maybe didn't have the funds to go into another series. Nicholas Latifi was a latecomer to the world of racing. He only started karting aged 14, while his first single-seater race came at the age of 17. After consistent top 10s in regional formulas, he made his GP2 debut in 2014 and would take a while to get up to speed in the series. His best championship result in GP2 was 16th in 2016, but he stayed on in the series as it rebranded to Formula 2 in 2017. Getting 5th in his 4th year of second-tier racing, he had become a test driver for the Renault F1 team, although in 2018 he switched over to Force India, doing some tests for them. In 2019, aged 24, Latifi finished second in the F2 standings behind Nick de Vries, having spent 6 seasons in the second tier of junior motorsport, and was promptly signed to drive for the Williams F1 team in 2020, becoming the first driver on this list to actually race in Formula 1. His rookie season was mediocre, as he didn't really do much. Then in 2021, he stepped it up a little bit, scoring his first points with 7th place in Hungary. Then he took 1 point by finishing 9th in the rain-shortened Belgian Grand Prix. He still finished with less than half the points of teammate George Russell, but maybe 2022 would help Latifi propel to a new level of performance as Alex Albon became his new teammate. It would maybe be a bit ironic then that 2022 was Nicholas's worst season yet. He crashed out of numerous races and was generally off the pace of his teammate, only scoring points once in the rain at Suzuka. He again scored half his teammates' points and was unceremoniously booted out by Williams for the 2023 season, as they opted for Logan Sargent instead. Money can only take you so far, and Latifi got 3 years in F1, which is more than most drivers get in their career. He's currently studying at the London Business School, so his racing career has been put on hold for now, at least for the time being. Hopefully he can go on to do something better, because it would be a shame to see an ex-F1 driver fall into obscurity. Alternatively known as Josh Revell's personal punching bag, Sean Gallagher started his karting career aged 14, picking up decent results in some Asian karting series before stepping up to single-seaters in 2012 at the age of 16. He finished 4th in the Formula Pilota China series, although only 6 of the 20 drivers in that year's series actually have Wikipedia pages, so maybe that result wasn't that representative. He would make his GP2 debut in 2015 and also competed in the LMP2 class of the Asian Le Mans series, finishing 3rd, which sounds impressive. That is until you find only 4 teams entered the series, so he got 3rd out of 4. He followed the second tier of Formula 1 as it became F2 all the way until 2020, after which he gave up on his F1 dream. He had driven for Toro Rosso in some practice sessions, but in his 6 years in GP2 and F2, his highest ranking in the series was 15th. Since then, he's competed in various LMP2 categories of endurance racing. In 2021, he finished 2nd in WEC, Asian Le Mans, and the 24 Hours of Le Mans. He finished 2nd again in WEC in 2022, and at this point in the 2023 season, is in 7th place. He's a meme in the F1 community, but seems to be a decent peddler in endurance racing. The brother of Charles, who raced in F1 in 2012 and 2013, Arthur Pick's junior career never really kicked off. After competing in regional formulas until 2010, then in Formula Renault 3.5 and the MRF Challenge Series until 2014, Pick then entered the 2014 GP2 series, picking up 7th in his debut year. He spent 2 more years in the series, but his results got progressively worse rather than better, and after the 2016 series, he hasn't raced in any racing series since. Imagine being more anonymous and worse than Charles Pic. Gustav Malia couldn't really build a successful junior career. After finishing 2nd in the ADAC Formel Masters series, Malia progressively made his way up through the junior ranks, then stepped up from 2-litre engine cars to the big boy cars in 2015 as he did a triple campaign running Formula Renault 3.5, F3 Euro and GP2. He stayed on in GP2 in 2016 but could only muster 13th in the standings. He became a test driver for Sauber F1 team and stayed on in F2 but again got 13th in the standings. He then moved over to Porsche Super Cup and then to Porsche Carrera Cup Germany in 2018. The latter of which he stayed in until 2019. He hasn't raced in any other series since. Probably the most successful driver so far on this list, Mitch Evans was a hot prospect during his junior career, winning and finishing runners-up in many series based in Australia and Oceania, including the Toyota Racing Series. Then in 2012, he won GP3, beating out strong competition such as Daniel Abt, Antonio Felix da Costa, Connor Daly and Carmen Yorda. He then moved up to GP2 the year after, finishing 4th in 2014, then 5th in 2015. He also finished 2nd in the LMP2 class of the Le Mans 24-hour race in 2015. After a lackluster 2016 season in both GP2 and ELMS, the Kiwi turned to Formula E, the series he still races in today. He finished 2nd in the 2021-22 season, runner-up to Stoffel Van Dorn, then finished 3rd in the 2022-23 season. He's a very talented driver who at times was in with a shout for an F1 seat, but he never got the chance in the end, which is a shame because I think he'd have done well. After success in the Formula Challenge Japan and Japanese F3 series, winning both, Matsushita made his GP2 debut in 2015 and placed 9th in the standings, picking up 1 win. He stayed on in 2016 and became a development driver for McLaren Honda as well, but only finished 11th in that season in GP2. He stayed on in the transition to F2 and had a much better third season in 2017, picking up 2 wins and 6th place in the driver standings, as well as becoming a development driver, again, this time for Sauber F1. In 2018, he moved back to Japan and drove in Super Formula but only finished 11th in the standings. He was back to F2 in 2019 and he won 2 more races and got 6th in the driver standings again, just like in 2017. Then in 2020, plummeted to 15th in the standings, although this may have been because he was running a part-time schedule in Super Formula as well. Since 2021, he has run dual campaigns in both Super Formula and Super GT, and his F1 dream is over. He had flashes of brilliance, but couldn't crack it in GP2 nor F2 in order to make it to F1. Artem Markelov had moderate success in German Junior Series before moving up to GP2 in 2014, driving for Russian time. He finished 24th in the standings in his rookie year, then in 2015 ran a dual campaign with GP2 and the Toyota Racing Series without getting any good results in either category. 2016 saw him run another dual campaign and he got his first GP2 win in the Monaco feature race. Then in 2017, Artem stepped up his game, winning 5 races in the newly rebranded F2 series, and he finished runner-up to Charles Leclerc, who won the title. This great result led to nothing much, however, and although he got a development role with Renault in 2018, also driving in FP1 at the Russian Grand Prix, he would continue running in F2 until the 2020 season. He didn't get any more wins past 2018 and hasn't raced in any series since racing in F2 in 2020. After finishing in the top 3 of several regional junior series in the early 2010s, Oliver Roland ran a dual campaign in GP2 and Formula Renault 3.5 in 2015. He won Formula Renault, but only competed in about a quarter of the races in GP2 that year. After his first full-time year in GP2 in 2016, in which he finished 9th, he finished 3rd in the 2017 F2 standings, also becoming a Renault F1 development driver. He then left F2, doing a year in GT racing in 2018 alongside a development role with Williams' F1 team, but following that in 2019, he moved to Formula E, where he still races today, having had a best result of 5th place in the 2019-20 season standings. He was clearly a capable driver, but not up to F1 spec. After competing and succeeding in Italian and European regional series, Luca Giotto would move up to a GP3 in 2014, doing the Spa and Monza rounds before embarking on a full-time campaign in 2015. He claimed 2nd behind Esteban Ocon, finishing only 8 points behind the Frenchman. This result prompted a promotion to GP2 for 2016, and he finished 8th in the standings, taking his first win in the feature race in Sepang. 2017 saw Giotto take 4th in the newly rebranded F2 series as he took on a development role with Williams F1 as well. He finished 8th in F2 in 2018, then got 3rd in 2019 and 10th in 2020, but by the last year in 2020, Luca has shifted his focus to GT racing as his F1 dream was clearly over. He finished 5th in the Italian GT Championship in 2021, and amongst a smattering of other GT racing campaigns in 2022, he made a surprise return to F2 for 1 round for Dams as their regular driver Roy Nissany had received a race ban for dangerous driving. In 2023, he hasn't raced in any series yet, however he does do simulator work for the Nissan Formula E team. After success in several regional junior series, Jordan King made his GP2 debut in 2015, and he was also a development driver at Manor F1 team. He finished 12th in his rookie year, but 2016 saw more potential, as along with taking 2 wins and 7th in GP2, he appeared in Free Practice 1 for Manor in F1 at Kota. After Manor folded, he did the 2017 F2 Championship finishing 11th, but then moved to IndyCar in 2018, driving for Ed Carpenter Racing, although he missed the oval races in Phoenix, Indy, Texas, Iowa, Pocono and Gateway. He returned to F2 in 2019, driving alongside the legend Mahavir Raghunathan at MP Motorsport, and he finished 9th in the standings. Since then, he hasn't ran a full-time season in any series, although he has been a development driver for Mahindra's Formula E team and Alpine's F1 team. He's another driver who spent too long in the junior series and couldn't progress to F1 as a result. After winning some British regional formulas, the Macau Grand Prix in 2013 and GP2 in 2014, along with top 3s in other Formula 3 series, Alex Lynn moved up to GP2 and took a development role with Williams F1 team for 2015. He would spend 2 seasons in GP2, picking up 5 race wins and 2 6th places in the championship, but after 2016, he would jump between many series. He ran Formula E sporadically from 2016 to 2020, WEC and Le Mans 24 Hours from 2016 until now, along with IMSA, European Le Mans and the Nürburgring 24 Hours. He's had his fingers in a lot of pies and it's clearly worked out for him because he's still racing now. After average results in Regional Junior Series, Norman Nato moved up to GP2 in 2015, finishing 18th in the standings. Then in 2016, he finished 5th in the standings. After finishing 9th in F2 in 2017, he switched over to endurance racing in ELMS for 24 Hours of Le Mans and IMSA in 2018. After doing only one race all year in the 2018 season in WEC and doing sporadic endurance races in 2019, he returned to WEC in 2020, claiming 3rd in the standings and finished 2nd in the 24 Hours of Le Mans LMP2 class. In the 2020-21 season, he competed in Formula E without much success, and his career since then has been a mix of WEC, Le Mans and more Formula E. He is scheduled to race in the Le Mans Cup in 2023, but hasn't just yet at this point because the series hasn't started. After a successful karting career, top 3 finishes in regional formulas, and winning the Formula 3 Championship, Rafaeli Marchello made his GP2 debut in 2014, claiming 1 win in the Spa feature race along the way. In 2015, he got 7th in the standings and was a test driver for Sauber in F1. After getting 4th in the 2016 GP2 series, he switched to a career in GT racing, competing in 6 different racing categories in 2017, and a total of 10 series in 2018. Of those 10 series, he won the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup, came 2nd in the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup, and got 3rd in the Blancpain GT Series Asia in the Pro-Am Series, and got 3rd in the Intercontinental GT Championship. He only competed in 5 races in 2019, winning the FIA GT World Cup and getting 3rd in the Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe. Again, how can a challenge have the label of World and Europe? 2020 was a down year, only getting 1 top 3 in the GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup, but 2021 was better. He finished 3rd in both the GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup and the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. Then in 2022, he came 2nd in the GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup and won both the GT World Challenge Euro Endurance Cup and the ADAC GT Masters. If I have to say the words Europe, World, Challenge or GT ever again, I'm going to throw my recording equipment out of the window. Anyway, back to the script. Marchello has competed in 8 series so far in 2023, and he is currently leading both the GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup and the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup. Why is there so many World Challenge Endurance Cup? They're just trying to fit as many key words as they can into one series. He also came 3rd in the Nürburgring 24 Hours and Asian Le Mans. Marchello is the racing equivalent of a journeyman in football and has clearly found his niche in GT racing, so fair play to him. Sergey Sirotkin had success in the Formula Abarth series in the early 2010s and competed in Formula Renault 3.5 in 2012 and 2013. He became a test driver for the Sauber F1 team in 2013, aged 17, and after success in Formula Renault, was promoted to GP2 in 2015 when he finished 3rd behind Stoffel Van Dorn and Alex Rossi, a result he copied in 2016, this time behind Pierre Gasly and Antonio Giovinazzi. He also became a test driver for Renault F1 in 2016, having been dropped by Sauber at the end of 2014. He stayed with Renault into 2017, raced in Le Mans unsuccessfully, and did the Baku round of the F2 Championship, finishing 10th and 4th in the sprint and feature race. He drove for Williams in the 2018 F1 season, and despite beating Lance Stroll, his teammate, in both the qualifying and race head-to-head, Sirotkin got only 1 point in the championship compared to Stroll's 6. He was dropped for 2019 as his sponsor money from Russian company SMP dried up. He then competed in the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2019, although he DNF'd, and he was a reserve driver for both McLaren and Renault in F1. In 2020, he dipped his toes into the GT racing world, but hasn't raced in any series since. It's a shame, because while he wasn't a world beater, Sirotkin definitely deserved a better chance in F1 than he got in the end. Antonio Giovinazzi, aka Italian Jesus, won 5 races on his way to 2nd in the 2016 GP2 series, but before that result, he had a successful run in karts and made his car racing debut in 2012, winning the Formula Pilota China series. He finished 2nd in British F3 in 2013 and in European F3 in 2015 before winning the Masters F3 event in the same year. After his successful debut campaign in GP2, Gio got a surprise F1 debut in 2017, driving for Sauber for 2 races, while Pascal Wehrlein recovered from his injuries sustained in the Race of Champions. He was test and reserve driver for both Sauber and Ferrari in 2018, but got promoted to a full-time F1 seat with Alfa Romeo in 2019. A 40-year-old Kimi Räikkönen nearly tripled the Italian's points, but he's practically a rookie, so I'll let him off the hook. Both Kimi and Antonio scored 4 points in 2020, then in 2021, Antonio showed flashes of potential, getting into Q3 multiple times, but in the end only scored 3 points to Kimi's 10. After he was dropped by Alfa Romeo for 2022, some fans said that Alfa were too harsh, but I disagree. He wasn't a bad driver by any means, but Kimi was well past his prime and didn't really care about F1, and Antonio was only about equivalent to the Iceman's performance level. Giovinazzi then moved to Formula E for a season but drowned badly as he was the worst full-time driver in the season's standings. Then he was a reserve driver for all of the Ferrari-powered F1 teams in 2022 as well, but in 2023 he moved into endurance racing and is third in the WEC Championship as we speak. But more importantly, earlier this year he won the Le Mans 24 Hours, which is fair play. He's clearly a very fast driver, but isn't a complete enough package to do well in Formula 1 nowadays. The last driver to appear on this list is the 2016 GP2 champion, Pierre Gasly. After success in karting, Pierre moved up to car racing aged 15 in 2011. He spent 3 years in lower regional formulas and won the Formula Renault 2 litre category in 2013 before moving up to Formula Renault 3.5 and doing a half campaign in GP2 in 2014. He finished second in Formula Renault behind Carlos Sainz Jr. but couldn't do much in GP2 that year. In 2015, he got 3 pole positions and 4 podiums, finishing 8th in the series before winning it in 2016. With no open F1 seats at the start of the 2017 season, he competed in Formula E and in Super Formula in Japan in the meantime, coming runners-up in the latter. Towards the end of the F1 season, however, Toro Rosso decided to drop Danny Kvyat before the Malaysian Grand Prix in favour of giving Pierre his F1 debut. Pierre would then see out the rest of the season, apart from the United States Grand Prix in Texas as the race clashed with his Super Formula race in Suzuka. Gasly was then promoted to a full-time seat in 2018 alongside Brendan Hartley, and he had a great rookie season, picking up 29 points compared to Hartley's measly 4. Pierre then benefited from another well-timed driver departure to Red Bull-backed team, as Daniel Ricciardo left the senior team at the end of 2018. Pierre was promoted to Red Bull for 2019, but struggled from the off. Bar the summer break, he had failed to even stand on the podium, while teammate Max Verstappen had 2 wins amongst other podiums, so Pierre was demoted back to Toro Rosso for the rest of the season. He saw out the end of the season well, capping it off with a main podium in Brazil, and then Pierre stayed with the rebranded AlphaTauri team for 2020, and absolutely decimated teammate Danny Kvyat. Pierre scored points 10 times in the shortened season and got a historic win at Monza to top off a great redemption arc which started 12 months prior with the loss of his Red Bull drive. He went from strength to strength in 2021, more than tripling his rookie teammate Yuki Tsunoda's points, but AlphaTauri fell off in 2022. He still scored double Tsunoda's points, but he moved away from the Red Bull family for 2023, as he clearly didn't see a path back into the senior team. His season so far has been pretty good, as he's been pretty level with his teammate Esteban Ocon, as both have scored podiums and are both fairly level in the head-to-heads. Pierre is the only driver who raced in the GP2 series in 2016 who made it to F1 and is still racing in F1 now. Antonio Giovinazzi is the only other driver who is still involved with Formula 1. Now, let's summarise the whole GP2 field in 2016. Of the 26 drivers who competed in the series, 4 drivers never competed in any other racing series ever again after this season. 5 competed in other series but have since retired. 2 drivers only ever competed in F2 again before retiring soon after the rebrand. 6 drivers are still actively racing in endurance, GT racing or regional top formula categories, such as Super Formula. 2 are simulator drivers for Formula 1 or Formula E teams, while 2 actually compete in Formula E. 4 drivers actually made it to Formula 1, but Giovinazzi, Sirotkin and Latifi all have no realistic way of getting back into full-time seats. The fact that only 4 out of the 26 drivers on the 2016 GP2 grid got to F1 shows that the lack of opportunities to move up to F1 isn't a new thing. The FIA do need to do something about this because currently some of their best recent young stars have migrated to IndyCar and Formula E amongst other series instead of waiting it out for an F1 drive that will never come. Anyways, with that being said, it's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it and it's a bit of a branch away from my usual Formula 1 content. Have a good day and I'll see you all next week with another video. I've been Nedso, and goodbye.